We may as well just jump right into it.
Yeah.
Dude,
You're, you're safe and sound after your soccer game?
oh my God. Yeah, I'm safe, but man, I am sore. I was like trying to get up out of bed and barely got down to my office here.
What time did you get back home?
Oh, like 11:30, somewhere in that range. So old man Zach not used to having to get up and or get home late and then get up early, but yeah, it's cool. I'm pumped for today. We talked about on a previous podcast, we talked about Hormozy, the book launch goat, but you know who the real launch goat is today is the Apple
Oh,
iPhone event. Crazy. I was thinking about this event where I'm like, all right, I'm excited. I think there's gonna be a lot of people watching, and then more, I think there's gonna be a lot of people ordering iPhones. And in 2024, Apple generated $390 billion in revenue, and 51% came from the iPhone. So just imagine on a day like today when a new iPhone comes out, how much of that, half of 390, which is, whatever that is, close to $200 million or $200 billion, sorry. Think about how much of that is going to be generated today. And it's like 100 million on a book sale. That's cute. We're going to do 100 billion on an iPhone sale today in
yeah.
one day. It's got to be so high. Like, are you going to buy the new iPhone today? Are you going to pre-order it?
Yeah.
And so many people I know, at least, will pre-order the iPhone. I used to be one of those guys who every single year I used to upgrade my iPhone without. And before I got talked over to the dark side of Apple, I was actually a Samsung guy.
Yeah.
I liked Android products.
So you've been that guy for what, 2 years?
No, because I would upgrade my phone no matter what. Since
Yeah. Okay.
for probably the last.
So it wasn't an iPhone thing.
No. So from the last but Samsung has these kind of launch events too, and they do really well. And it's basically like they compete on this type of thing against
I've
each
never
other.
heard anyone watch that. So
Well, I have. I mean, worldwide, it's probably bigger, right? Like Samsung phone sales, they're probably bigger than Apple worldwide, I would assume, or it's got to be dang close. I know that Apple just overtook Samsung in a couple different areas. But anyway, interestingly enough, I used to switch every year. Last year was the first year I did get a new phone. And it was like, I don't know, iPhone, well, they're supposed to come out with a bunch of crazy stuff today, but they always say that.
yeah.
And then it's like, it kind of falls flat. And it's kind of an interesting thing that like iPhone has created such a moat and fandom within their users that even when they flop a product, and this is their core product that they're flopping. It's not like they're like releasing like whatever the goggles were, Apple Vision Pro. Everyone was like, "Oh, that's such a flop. No one's gonna buy that." It's like that's fine. That's not their core product. 51% is from the iPhone. That's the workhorse of this business. But then they basically last year, everyone was like, I mean, this is literally the exact same phone as we got the previous year. It doesn't look any different. Doesn't really do anything noticeably different now. And
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm hoping today that they show me some magic. I'm gonna buy it regardless because my battery life is trash on my phone right now.
That's the biggest one.
Which is crazy that's like not only planned obsolescence, but they're actually like updating the phone or allegedly. I don't want to, don't sue me here, Apple.
Yeah.
They're allegedly like doing things to basically make the battery life worse. And they go, yeah, well, we have to turn down the battery performance because the battery is getting older. So as it gets more unstable, we can't have it perform as high. And you're like, what? It's like a year old and you're starting to nuke this thing. But yeah,
Well,
interesting.
also, I forget the documentary. They're like somewhat indestructible too. Like you throw them in a garbage dump and like they'll never break down. And so they have like this service where you're supposed to send your iPhone in to actually like dispose of them. And this company followed like that. They tracked the iPhone, and it was like this place in Thailand where these guys are just hammering the phones. into smithereens, dude. And they're like, it's releasing gas and stuff. They're like, this can't be good.
Wow. Yeah. I always wondered what happened to my iPhone once I traded in. Like when I buy the new iPhone, the cool thing what they do is they like announce it today and then it's like available next week basically.
Yeah.
But then you just give them your old iPhone and you're just like, all right, where does this go to iPhone heaven? You know, it's
Yeah.
like I have no idea. I always thought maybe they like took it apart and used it for parts to repair other people's iPhones, or maybe they just like refurbish the one if it's in good enough condition and resell. Because like some of those insurance companies, when you get a phone, I remember I used to break quite a few phones. I haven't broken a phone for a long time, knock on wood, but I used to be pretty rough on phones when I was like younger and like doing sports and stuff and like break things. But I remember you get a refurbished phone and it was always kind of disappointing because it was like sometimes the refurbished phone wasn't that great in that great a shape. And it was like an old battery too. So it just didn't, it was like, oh, I'm getting a new phone. And they was like, no, you're not getting a new phone. You're getting someone else's old phone. And it just works
Yeah.
better than the one that you broke. And so, yeah,
Yeah.
it's funny because that's got to be, I mean, I can't even imagine the market on that. Like imagine in phone insurance I should have done some research on that. Like this is just jogging some ideas, but
Talk about Apple Care.
Apple Care, I mean, that's got to make them a ton of money. I mean, the good thing is Apple is a public company, so we can see like what Apple made off of Apple Care last year. But yeah, it's interesting to think about. Like, there's third party companies that run that too. Like, I remember through T-Mobile, T-Mobile's insurance is like a third party insurance company, and so they're the ones that provide if you break the phone, the claim goes through some other claim, and I can't remember the company's name. But man, insurance on something like that is such a good business because it's not like insuring a car where like the price tag of the thing is really expensive. Because I'm sure these insurance companies, when they pay out a claim, they probably have some deal with Apple because Apple's getting a cut or whatever. They're probably getting cell phones for basically cost or like maybe cost plus a little bit. So they're not getting it for like MSRP. And so you're insuring something for like some of those insurance plans, like T-Mobile, I think is like $15 a month. And so you're just paying $15 a month inevitably to insure a phone. And then the great thing is for the insurance company, over time, that iPhone actually becomes devalued because I still am paying for the last 2 years insurance on a 2-year-old phone. So now to replace this one has got to be like way less expensive comparatively. So yeah, it's a crazy business. And that kind of leads me into my first topic, which is like these businesses that exist completely on the back of another company. And the great thing about these, like these insurance companies, they don't really have to have great marketing. They don't have to have like B to C advertising costs. They just have to have really good salespeople that go and sell corporate executives on their products and then make sure that all of that stuff, like what they're delivering, works really well. Like this insurance company, I don't even know what the brand of insurance is that works with T-Mobile. I can't remember what the name of it is, but they don't need, like, they're not the one selling the product. T-Mobile sells the insurance for them. They're just fulfillment for that. It's kind of like 3PLs, right? Like shipping logistics companies. It's like there's so many huge shipping logistics companies that you've never heard of. Like, for example, one of the ones in the Seattle area called Expeditors International. Most people have probably never heard of Expeditors, but it is probably one of the largest businesses in the world. And they're doing like basically shipping logistics and for companies.
What do you think? What do you think their B2B like sales and marketing strategy is, though? You know, it's probably all like that's the dinners and the like traditional sales stuff, I'm sure.
Oh, for sure. Like it's a lot of like you got to find the right people and sell them, which could naturally be a harder process. But I mean, the nice thing is it's kind of sticky, right? Like especially once you get into a big business, there's high switching costs of these things. Because imagine if your whole logistics chain is set up by Expeditors, and then all of a sudden you want to switch. Oh my God! Think about trying to literally while like what do you do while loads are live in the water, in the sea? You're like, all right, now you're no longer tracking this boat, you're tracking this boat. It's like
Yeah.
I don't even know how you would switch.
It's really not worth it or like, man, you got to be so bad.
Well, I think about it too is like when you think about like what smart business people say, they always say like, solve rich people problems. And it's
Yeah.
like, this is a great idea where it's like, even at the size we're at, right? Like we look at costs way different than we did 2, 3, 4, especially 5 years ago. We used to be really cheap, right? Because we were a small up and coming business. We were bootstrapping everything. We didn't have money to spend on like all these different subscriptions for like SaaS products and things like that. And now it's like we pay six figures a year easy in just EMR costs, plus like Prediction Health and like a bunch of these other companies. We have a massive subscription, but I look at that stuff as like, hey, this is just necessary to doing business. And it's kind of like the reason why I started going down this route is because I was thinking about towel service, because we're thinking about, hey, do we pay $8,000 to $10,000 to put a washer and dryer in a PT clinic that we have, or do we just go to towel service and then not have to deal with it, not take up the space with the washer and dryer, all that kind of stuff? And it's a tough question because we've been pretty like bootstrapped with our laundry service, stuff like that. But eventually you get to a size of business, like we're basically there where it's like, just cost of doing business. Like we're going to run a PT clinic. We need towels. We don't have all of our locations can't have washer and dryers. So it's just a cost of doing business, and it's going to become a light item on a P&L that you're just going to accept, and you're probably not going to shop it, right? Like you're not going to go around and every year go get bids on your towel services. Now, certain companies, like big companies, there is a bidding process, I think, every few years to make sure that they're getting the best cost. But I'm sure it slides for a very long time on certain things like this. And then you get companies that build these massive businesses off the back of other companies. Like you've heard of Cintas, right? Have you heard of Cintas? These are those brands that like everyone sees the trucks or everyone sees the thing, but they don't realize how much they interact with those products on a daily basis. Well, I was looking up Cintas. And Cintas has a market cap of $81.6 billion. They've got a gross margin of 49.7%. Their operating margin is 22%. And then their net margin at the end of the day, 17.5%, which is pretty crazy to think about, like off of towel services and all this. And I was like, man, if they're that big, they must have just one big whale of a client that's like supplying most of their revenue. And so if that person does well, they're screwed. Nope. They have over 1 million customers. They mostly service small to mid-sized businesses, and not a single customer is over 1% of their revenue. So they're a highly sticky business.
Yeah.
High switching costs, because you're like, I got all these towels and I got to schedule someone to come in. And Cintas does way more than towels. They do uniforms, which I'm sure is like, that's where the big overlap is. Like, damn, you guys already have our logos. You guys have all of our stuff, our colors.
Well, they wash it and shit too. Like they'll do like all the mats out front of your store. Like, yeah,
no,
I actually interviewed there in college for an internship. I didn't get it, but
and we know why you didn't get it. Just kidding.
yeah, yeah.
Was that going to be on like the supply chain management side? So you're going to be like managing incoming products, like purchasing the actual products?
I think, well, this is in college. This is an internship. So I was like potentially going to be going and kind of like an account rep, like trying to find new clients.
Gotcha. Yeah. I mean, dude, I think those kind of businesses, those ones are interesting because Cintas, you're really looking for probably like $3 to $50 million companies revenue wise, and those are the ones that care way less about that as a line item. And it's like you don't have to sell them as much. Like you don't want to go and try to sell businesses that are in the like startup. And I'm not talking about startup tech company. I'm talking about like us when we first launched. You don't want to try to sell someone that's in that range up to 3 million, because every dollar of their cash is being spent in a certain way, and that owner's probably not even paying themselves that much money. And so those companies typically don't want to outsource. And if
Uh,
they are, they're doing it to someone cheap. Like we know gyms that like a member washes the
yeah, yeah.
laundry because they
I,
want to save money.
I think you just think about it differently, kind of like we did, right? Like now, spending 100,000 on the EMR, I don't even think about the 100,000. I think about how much it's making us, and the opportunity cost of using someone else. Whereas when you're in that beginning phase, it's like, yeah, but I'm not sure if that's going to happen. So I just got to hoard as much, I got to cut costs as much as I can. You're not even in a space to be able to think about like the optimistic side of it.
Yep.
And that's what all those businesses are going to do. And especially with towels, because it's like, it doesn't necessarily make you money. So that's a hard sell.
Yeah.
Um,
But it's one of those things like certain things you just have to have. And what Cintas does and some of these other ones, and we were at that event, if you remember a while back, and the owner of Fikes was there, which is basically like a local version of a Cintas type of organization. They provide stuff that you have to have, bathroom products. Like, I mean,
yeah.
we are part of gyms that have Cintas where you got to buy the Cintas soaps and they send the paper towels on subscription. And so like all of their stuff is recurring. Like they don't really sell, like Cintas won't sell you a one-off like roll paper towels. They're like, here's the subscription
Yeah.
and then just set it and
Smart.
forget it. And so it's just like, yeah, and a couple pain points of like running out of toilet paper at your gym and people complain, you're like, all right, I got to get this on subscription. And then you just eat that cost, even though it's more expensive. And then these guys are taking in, 17.5%
It's also
net margin on 81 billion.
it's also peace of mind, like, dude, the feeling of like, oh, we're out of toilet paper. Oh God, I gotta run to the store. Like that feeling of like always thinking, did I forget this time? Did I forget that time? Like just getting rid of that is worth a certain amount. But yeah, in the early phase, like it ain't worth the amount that I'm willing to spend right now. So
No, and you're and when you first start up, you're willing to do way more yourself. Like,
yeah,
I mean, should I still wash some towels from some offices because I go there and I'm like, oh man, this is crazy expensive. But most of them do their own, right? It's like I'm at the point where I'm like, I'm gonna pay a plumber $4,000 to come in and plumb a washer just so I don't have to do it. And that's like that's the thing that happens as you get bigger. You're like, I'm willing to pay this money now because we have it and I don't want to do the thing anymore. And so like, I mean, that's kind of like the uniforms. It's like these companies that make their employees wear uniforms like Les Schwab or whatever, right? They have the same pants, they have to have the white shirts. Les Schwab ain't washing those pants and shirts. Like I'm sure that's a uniform company that is like coming in, grabbing their stuff, washing it, making sure that it's all looks good and it's back and it's ready, and no one's showing up to work where they don't have their stuff, or like someone at the company forgot to wash uniforms last night and now everyone comes in and now you don't wear a uniform. Like you've never been to a Les Schwab and people aren't wearing the uniform, right? It's like
right.
everyone's got it ready. And that's that peace of mind where you're like, that at least that piece of the business is dialed. And there's a lot of businesses like that are very large that can afford that. And like Les Schwab is a very, does very well. And they're a large tire shop. If you don't know what that is, if you're listening from an area around somewhere else, but it's like one of those things where that's the type of business to get into. And even like if you're a plumber, right, or electrician, I think going commercial is probably a way better way versus like the person who's going to nickel and dime you because it's $600 to fix your toilet, and they're like, shit, I don't really want to pay $600 to get my toilet. It's like it's a harder game because more people want to be in it, but it's so worth it to get into a business like that, to where you're dealing with people who are not like so frugal.
Yeah. Well, that kind of goes into this quote that I heard that still stuck with me recently. It's never trade traction for novelty. And I think it somewhat applies to something like this is that like everyone wants to get into the sexy business and all that. And you know, they may even look at their business be like, this is boring. I want to do like something crazy that everyone's talking about. But man, the competition for that versus and you know, I don't know the game, but I just feel like with the skills that we've created, we could probably go sell a towel service or whatever and know how to like get the accounts and no one would know about it like they'd know about high def, but I bet we probably end up making more money doing that, you know? Uh so it's an interesting thing to think about even in physical therapy or whatever, like don't get so caught up in the latest trend or the thing that's got all the hype. Just focus on what's actually working in your business now. And I mean we
PTs
run
do
into
that
this.
so much, dude. PTs
Yeah.
do this so much where they're like, oh, this new thing, I'm going to focus all my effort on marketing that thing. It's like, yeah, I mean, you can roll out new services like we do dry needling. And it's like, you should know how to strategically roll that out to your referral partners. But at the same time, it's like, don't go all in on like, oh, this is our method now, or this is our thing. And like, you see PTs do this after they take like a con ed course. They do like one course, they learn a new skill, and then all of a sudden that's all they do in the clinic. And
Yeah.
you know, and then it keeps on changing. So they never grab any traction with that, with whatever their specialty is. It's like, dude, if you just advertised the one thing for a long time and became the actual specialist in this for a long period of time where people actually knew about it, you'd probably grab some traction. But instead, you're just jumping around trying to create new services because you can't find any traction without it.
Or it's like what is working? You know, like if you're already operating and you have a book of business, instead of trying to come up with it, it's like, well, why are people coming now? What like you haven't squeezed all the life out of that. Figure out what that is and keep diving into it. Like that's what people always, oh, you guys should start doing personal or have personal trainers on your staff, right? You guys should do nutrition and all this stuff. And we've fallen into that trap where it's like, yeah, we should, dude. And then I'm like, well, or we could get more PTs and grow that way, a way that's already working. Why would I spin something brand new up that we have no idea if it's actually going to pan out?
I mean, dude, we've talked to PT clinic owners that have massive gyms and have literally told us like our training side is 50 to 60% of our work, and it probably accounts for 5 to 10% of our revenue.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, cut that. That's the and unless you could prove that the fitness side of your PT or your personal training stuff is feeding back to the other thing, like we've told our PTs where it's been like, they're like, well, now that they're not doing physical therapy and it's personal training, are we going to sell it for cheaper? And I'm like, no. We're going to charge the same price because otherwise we're literally just asking to lose money on sessions to give people discounts. We're basically, because then people start taking advantage of you and they start doing like, training's cheaper, but it's with a physical therapist. I'm just going to I'm just going to say I'm not injured anymore, but basically just get PT at a cheaper rate. Like that's essentially what happens. Now, the good thing about a insurance-based physical therapy practice is that just like, these businesses are kind of you're kind of insulated, especially when you're working with people who it's not affecting their paycheck. So like for example, in one of these services business, you go in and you sell a $15 million gym business, a towel service, but you are talking to a general manager who doesn't get paid less if he does towel services. That's an easier sell because you're asking someone for money where it doesn't impact their finances, right? Like when you're talking to the business owner, like for example, me and you own 100% together of high def physical therapy. Theoretically, when someone sells us a service, we are paying for that out of our pocket 50-50, right? Because like if we wouldn't have paid for that, that money may have been dividended back to us at the end of the year, and we get to keep that. So we're basically paying for anything we do 50-50 out. Now, the P&L has become so separated from our bank account because of the size we're at and our payroll and all that kind of stuff and our expenses that I don't think about it as that anymore. I used to, for sure. When we were at like 4 employees, 5 employees, 1 clinic, it was like anything we pay for, any piece of equipment, me and you are just basically buying it 50-50. And I think a lot of people who work at these small businesses don't think about it like that, where it's like, every dollar you spend is a dollar that doesn't go into the owner's pocket at the end of the year. So if you spend enough, which happens in a lot of businesses, there's no money to dividend at the end of the year, and the owner literally gets paid zero. And we know a lot of business owners that happens to, and it's because they don't keep a hard account of like what they're spending, and then it ends up being that they have no money in their pocket. But that's why, like, selling these businesses where there's like an insulator between you and your money. So like for us to round all the way back, insurance companies for most people at some point end up paying 70% or more of the bill. And that's why it's a great business to be in, is because at the end of the day, there's an intermediate step where people forget about this step. And the step is, every single month, silently, money comes out of your paycheck to pay your healthcare premium. And so once people hit their deductible, they're like, this is free. But if they looked at every paycheck they had, there's money going out towards that. And that is why the insurance company pays 100%. But again, like, if you pay $600 a month in healthcare and you only spend $100, it's still actually costing you $500 for that appointment. So it's an interesting thing.
Do you think there's other insurance spin-offs that could be created, or like in the future, you're not doing it now, but would be like an AI cybersecurity insurance type thing or something like that?
Oh, for sure. Well, I mean, the big advantage is that all the incumbents in insurance have the advantage here, where they just can create new service lines.
Add it on to
Exactly. They're like, hey, by the way, also on your insurance, on your business insurance, now you have like theft protection via AI, whatever, or like, oh, if you have this AI bot and it tells someone something incorrect, like medical, it will be like this for medical. Once these companies start to scale up and use AI, like the Sword Healths and like companies like that of the world, there will be eventually a case where an AI thing gets someone injured and it gets them sued. But at the end of the day, like, the AI basically becomes like a person. And the great thing about AI telling something that's something wrong is that it got that information from somewhere. And so as long as the AI is using credible sources, it's like medical negligence or like malpractice is basically like based on like, oh, you did something outside of the norm that led to this injury. So like, one, you have to, in like a malpractice case, you have to be able to prove like that someone actually did suffer an injury from this and a loss. And then 2, you have to prove that someone did something outside of something that's normal. So like, you can't just sue somebody when like you get your ACL reconstructed and then you go out and tear your ACL. Like, you have to figure out like, oh, they did a method to repair this in a way that like was not normal and usual, and it led to this re-tear. So like, there's a lot of things you have to prove, but it's like, if AI is basing their information off things that people have done regularly in the past, I feel like those cases are going to be harder to win unless that AI just is like, is hallucinating and just making up information, which could be the case. But I think it's, all those kind of products are interesting, and it's just like jobs, right? It's like, everyone talks about how all these jobs are being lost, and it's crazy. Like, I think there's already, I saw some report like 700,000 jobs have already been lost to AI, and like AI is threatening half of white collar jobs. I was reading that last night. But it's like, all that does is create more jobs. eventually, once people figure out what are the jobs that people need now to support the new industries.
Yeah, it's
And so
redistributing basically.
exactly, because there's so many jobs that don't really exist now that used to exist, and then there's a lot of jobs that, like the other way, right? So like for example, there probably used to be a lot more shoe cobblers out there, people repairing shoes. Now there's almost nobody repairing shoes because shoes have been created to be just like a dispensable item that you just get rid of. And so no one's out there repairing the sole of a Nike anymore. You know, it's like
Yeah.
no one wears these leather shoes with like super high-end soles that need to be restitched and can be refinished.
Yeah, you had to find something else to do.
Yeah, and everything like that, man. Like in some countries, even like we're talking like U.S., but like I remember talking to someone, and they were like, "It's so weird that like every time an appliance breaks in someone's house, that they just throw it away." Like he was talking about, he was like, "I had a dishwasher guy come over, and I had had this happen to one of my fridges, where it was like a small part, and they were like, "This is broken." It actually is probably just cheaper to buy a new one because it's about the same price for this little part as it is for the entire refrigerator. And they're like, just throw the refrigerator away. And I think he was from Brazil, and he was like, in Brazil, people have appliances that have been in their house for 40 or 50 years, and it's because we don't just throw away the whole thing because people value fixing the thing that broke. And so
Yeah.
rather than creating all this waste and trash by throwing away an entire refrigerator, yeah, it's the same price, but it's like if you repair it, it's good as new. And so like for us as Americans, good as new is not good as new. We're like, if it's $500 to repair something, but it's $800 for a new one, most people are buying the $800 new one. And we have this interesting culture that's like existed in this area. But anyway, I think in the US, we used to repair a lot more things like that. So there was a lot more refrigerator repairmen and dishwasher repairmen or whatever, right? Like oven repair people. Now it's just like there's more salespeople because we're selling way more goods. And so that job has gone away, but that person who used to repair the oven now is selling ovens, right? So like I
Yeah.
think the market just has to catch up. And that's the tough part about right now with the AI boom is that the market is moving so fast. These jobs are being lost. We can't create the jobs and figure out what the new job is to replace that old job. I think at the speed that we would like to. And I don't know. What do you think? Like, do you think that's the case, or do you think that we're just going to have a bunch of homeless people walking around?
I think people will figure it out, and I think they're going to have to shift from what they're used to doing, and it's like you got to come to this really like I saw another article and it reminded me of the MFM business. Apparently travel agents are becoming a job again. Like people are actually hiring people to do that. And that one company where it's like, hey, we'll use your Amex points or your credit card points to book special travel because we know how to do it better than you. I just think there's little things like that people aren't gonna want to do or know how to do in quick enough that there'll be positions at companies for stuff like that, or new insurance stuff that you're selling. Like there's going to be new products that you could sell or that you can be customer success for. But I think there is always a rough patch of that redistribution. Like I've talked to a lot more people who are like, yeah, and this is the thing too. They're like, yeah, I got laid off, but I'm kind of just chilling right now. It's like, all right, I think, but there might be a darker period where it's like, oh, actually, I'm not chilling anymore. I can't find anything.
Yeah.
But I mean, dude, remember when we were in high school and everyone was like, I graduated college, I can't find a job. Oh my god, like, yeah, it was tougher, but it just forces people into a trend of things that they didn't want to do, and then you figure something else out from there. But it was interesting. I was thinking about it, uh, and you're not really on TikTok, but dude, I watch a lot of just random like people filming while they're working at these like quote unquote shit jobs that no one would want. Like this one dude, he films all these sandwiches that he makes at Jersey Mike's, and like he makes them fun to watch, and he's got hundreds of thousands of followers. I'm like, he's probably making way more money just off these TikToks. But J Mike's is the way that, you know, this is his way to make it. You know, this is what he's using to create these videos. Without it, he couldn't just make it at home. No one gives a shit. It's the fact that he's at J Mike's, and it's a win-win for them too.
I was listening to a podcast where there was a guy like that from Sherwin-Williams who was like making his own paints. He was like had a TikTok channel blending paints and had this massive following. And then Sherwin-Williams fired him for using their facilities to film his videos. And then he came out with his own paint company. And he like now mixes these custom paints
The
and
lost opportunity for them, dude.
it's
Like,
yeah, it's like that's short-term thinking. But what you're talking about too makes a lot of sense with like the travel agents, for example, is like I've used ChatGPT to help me plan a trip before, and it's pretty good, but it does leave some like personal touches out where it's like I feel like a human would still be better at this. And it's funny that if travel agents really are making a comeback, and it's probably because people are like on AI planning trips and they're like, oh, that was pretty cool to get my trip planned for me, but it actually kind of sucked. And so I wonder if like a person would do this better. And so I'm going to go find a person and pay the money for it. I think there's probably some stuff like that where it's like, you know, everyone has access to the same AI. And this is going to become, I think, one of the largest problems. One, I don't think AI is actually as good as people think it is, because when you spend as much time doing things with AI as I do, you start to realize that a lot of this shit is generic stuff that anyone could produce. And because now the access to it is democratized, everyone is producing the same stuff. Like it's like I don't even want to write that much stuff with AI anymore because it's so generalized where I'm like, dude, this does not set us apart at all. And like now you could tell when something's been written by AI. It's pretty easy. And like our BS detector is getting so much better at this. And so, one, I don't think AI is as good as people think it is. And, you know, I think it'll get better. But the problem is like everyone will continue to have access to the same thing. And so it's like, it doesn't make you special anymore to be able to use AI to produce. So it's like, it's like you almost become white noise if you're using it to write tweets, for example, or something like that. And so the person who comes up with unique individual creative thoughts, I think is still always going to be valued by a human, because I don't think in the future, unless we become cyborgs, I don't think that anyone's going to go like, oh my God, that's the best AI prompt guy. I can't believe he writes such good AI tweets. It's like people still want the authentic thing. It's why people still buy classic cars and shit. You know, it's like a classic car in no way is better than a new car. It doesn't have any like safety features. The airbags hardly work. It's got a carburetor, so the fuel system is not as good. But people still want that because they want the quote unquote real thing. They want like the thing that it used to be. And it's like some of that's nostalgia, but some of that's like just being a human. And I think like that is going to be interesting because I already see a lot of people who like, for example, you know, I listen to that podcast where people are going back to like print stuff to read because I'm getting tired myself of reading stuff on my computer and my phone because I'm like, it's so distracting that I have all these different tabs and I jump around and I hate that my brain ping pongs so much. And so I'm like, I almost printed our business topics for today because I'm like, I think I need something that's less distracting that I can just sit and read. And I think there's still something to it, like a Warren Buffett who just actually sits and reads printed manuscripts. And it's not just because he's old. It's because he's figured out what works. And he probably knows that if he goes to a computer, he's going to get distracted and start jumping around rather than having one thing in front of him and reading it. And so like maybe there's an app that creates that where it's like, once you go into this, it's locked and you can only look at this for the next 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Something like that. I don't know what it is, but something has got to be created, I think, in the future. That's going to be a really big business that helps people feel less distracted and builds their attention span. Because I am constantly looking at things where I'm like, how do I build my attention span back to where I'm not, you know.
I was like, so many times I'm like, I should put this email into AI and tell it to give me the points. And I'm like, dude, just read the fucking thing. But I literally had a point on here today. My prediction is there's gonna be this AI fatigue, and it's probably already happening in creation and creative things. You know, like a lot of people predict that all social media will just be AI generated. There only is going to be AI creators. I don't. I think it might get like to where there's a lot of that, but I don't think it's going to be as well received as people think it is. Like already, like you said, dude, I can't even read. I can't read anyone's captions anymore. I can't read any LinkedIn posts. The second I see that M dash, I'm like, yeah, I'm out. Uh, and it all sounds the same. The no 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 problems, no fluff, no nothing, just great service. I'm like, dude, like,
Yeah.
and you know, we thought it was cool in the beginning because I was like, whoa, it just generated this, and that's all I was posting too.
The novelty of it was great.
Yeah, but now I'm like, this is kind of lame, and I think a lot of people are starting to feel that way too. So I don't think going down. If I was investing in I would not invest in the creation side of things. Like they're talking about like AI movies and stuff, and like AI creators. I don't like, dude. People would rather watch you sit in your living room as a human than some dumbass AI video. Like it's just gonna go that way, I think.
Well, because it's not relatable, right? Because that person is not even a person. So, like, nothing that they do is actually real. So, it's not relatable. The reason why YouTube has been so successful is because you have real people showing themselves really doing something and getting somewhere, right? And, like, the minute that becomes fantasy, now you're asking someone to just become a fantasy fan versus it's like fiction versus nonfiction, right? Like maybe AI will work in like Mickey Mouse, like all these kids shows that are already fake, right? Like
Anime,
those kind of things.
anime or
But
something.
yeah, there's always going to be a reality TV. Like I never think that there's going to be a reality TV. Now, this might just me and I might just come on here 5 years later and there's like AI real world where it's just a bunch of fake AI people that live in a real world. But like I just don't think you can replace certain things like that. And because people frankly want that kind of stuff. But dude, I think one, there's either it's gonna be Twitter or I guess it's X or someone like that. And I think it's probably gonna be X because of Elon. That's gonna have to go to you have to scan an ID to make a profile. And then every single one of your tweets, if it doesn't pass a certain like test, it can't be tweeted because it's AI generated. Because otherwise, I think actually AI is going to kill one of the major social media platforms. I think there's going to be so much AI generated content on one of the major social media platforms that everyone leaves.
Yeah.
It's going to become MySpace because it's going to be and I think it's Facebook because Facebook's already become like one of those platforms where it's like, dude, I cannot go on Facebook
It's a
because
fake article. It's AI written. Like it's all like
yeah, everything's so terrible. And it's like, I think a lot of these companies are sacrificing quality content for like all they care about is the amount of people on the network. So they're not vetting people because they need more users. And so if users are going up, they feel good about themselves. But it's one of those things where it's like, it's not good to just dig your head in the sand and be like, oh, all these users are perfectly fine. And it's like, if 1 in 10, if 10 or 9 out of every 10 users is fake or AI or a bot or whatever you want to call it, that's not good because over time, your product and the product is the information on that site becomes so diluted that people are like, dude, I can't even spend the time weeding through all this bullshit to get to the real stuff. And so, like, it's the same reason why I only read tweets from people that I know are real and I know are writing their stuff. And you can tell the people who write AI tweets. Like, I know a guy close to us that I could tell every single one of his tweets is AI. And I'm like, nice hustle to try to get the followers. But at the end of the day, like, I think you're building a bank full of like monopoly money versus building an actual bank account. And it's like you said, the quote you said earlier. You're trading novelty for traction. Like like we got traction writing our own copy by reading copywriting books, by studying copy, and then writing that on our website. And we didn't go down this path. We started to trade the novelty of, oh my God, AI created this crazy thing. I'm going to put that on my website versus just writing the thing on the website and making it better. We traded novelty for traction. And that's what a lot of people are doing is like, they had a decent traction going on social media, but they're like, you know what would make me grow faster is if I could post 100x of what I am right now because I'm using AI. And then I'm going to turn all my content into AI stuff, and then I'm going to get traction. It's like, I just think that it's probably in the long term going to bite a lot of people by using too much of this.
Did you see that OpenAI is creating a AI LinkedIn competitor? Yeah, I didn't read too much in it, but it's like it's the whole thing about it is that it's gonna be all AI generated. I think I don't know exactly, but I was like that might be the wrong investment. Kind of like it reminds me of like the metaverse. You know, it's like, dude, no, this is what's gonna happen. This is what we're gonna do, and it's like everyone's like, I don't want to though. You know, like same with AI. I think there's a lot of cool use cases. Like, dude, think about how many SOPs. It's like, dude, I don't want to write this shit. That it'll just spit out. Boom. That's the use case. The creative stuff. It's nice to bounce ideas off, but if you're just straight up like hitting, you know, create, post, like, God, it's all just garbage. And you know, like you said, maybe we're wrong, and in 5 years it's gotten so much better. But I don't know. I don't think so. Because, dude, even now I'm starting to like, you know, I tell it like write it like Joe Rogan or whatever, and I'm like, it doesn't. It kind of all sounds the same no matter who I say you're writing it as.
Yep. Yeah, it's crazy, man. I'm like, the world. I don't know. We're gonna have to figure this out. I'm reading about this, so it's basically like they're gonna create an X like competitor actually, but it's gonna be based on. It looks like
God.
it. No, it's good. It's actually. It doesn't say it's a LinkedIn competitor. At least it says it's an X competitor for X, and so it's basically gonna be based on like image generation capabilities. So it's going to be like timelines of people creating AI images. I'm like, I don't know who's going to want to see that. So it's basically like Instagram meets X, where you can like see people create images, maybe see their prompts or something. I don't know like where that goes, but yeah, I don't know, man. I think there's going to be two sets of people. There's going to be the people that live in the metaverse, and there's going to be people that live in the real universe. And like, I already want to spend way less time on my computer and my phone.
And
Like, I
phone.
don't know. I find myself more and more just being like, dude, I don't want to be addicted to this thing. And that's one reason I don't even go to TikTok, because I'm like, dude, I don't even want to have another thing that I got to go and click and scroll and like, you know, like every time I pick up my phone, it's just like a reflex now. And I think there's going to be a big push against that, because I already feel it inside myself where I'm like, I don't want to just be the guy who just like freaking pushes and, you know, like whatever. So I don't know. It's one of those things where I think there's a pendulum that's going to swing back, and whoever's on the other side of that pendulum is going to catch some momentum and some money, and then hopefully eventually it lands in the middle. But man, like just hearing the amount of numbers on like X, like that, some people spend their entire life on X, like tweeting, sending out message or whatever it is called now, and literally they know like 9 out of the 10 people on there are fake, that are like reading their thing, and like you're devoting your life to getting impressions and views, but it's like views from who?
Well, that Nick Huber guy, he sent an email out about like a bunch of businesses of his that he just shut down, and he was like, I used to just be able to tweet and it would generate business, but the algorithm's so messed up now that I'm not getting the same traction. So his businesses aren't working as much because there's probably so much fluff uh, on X that it's like hard to sift through and hard to even get the tweets you want to see.
For
So
sure.
like that's probably it, right? Like you said, I think it's gonna kill some platforms. Even Instagram, dude. I'm like, I don't even really like I used to like people's reading people's captions. Like they would post like a lot of good information and I would read through it. I was like, man, this is a great post. Now I'm like, dude, I can't even sit through like something that's so AI generated because you could tell I'll just have to skip past it, and then it makes me not even want to be on the platform.
Yeah.
Um,
Well, that's the interesting thing because I was listening to another podcast about like these school AI driven like teachers. And I'm like, I guess like kids out there learn everything anyway. And like AI will be more individualized because it'll be able to like in real time watch like how you answer questions and then try to like tailor the content to like make you better at that. But I wonder if at the end of the day, like all of that education leads people to being the same thing, where it's
mhm.
like, oh, this is highly like, or do you have to choose like my kid's going to be a doctor? Now AI, please like tailor the format to make them do that. It's because it's like you kind of almost, unless you're just teaching them the bare fundamentals, you're kind of almost leading people into the exact same path. Like everyone joins the funnel down here with this with different capabilities, but the AI teaches you in a way that like funnels you into.
Trying to control too much of the process, you know? It's like, dude, what happened to just throwing your kid out there and seeing what happens?
Yeah,
It
exactly.
works out for a lot of people. Yeah, some people it doesn't, but like,
Well, we're running a big A/B test right now because there are kids actively being tutored by AI. So I think we're gonna get a lot of smart people, but again, are they gonna be smart in the exact same ways and the same things? And then all of a sudden, you've got 100 million people that have the exact same knowledge set and ability, and none of them could get jobs because everyone has the same thing. It's like that's what I think about at the end of the day, where like it all sounds good, but it's like just like this AI generated content. Are you AI generating humans now to just have the exact same traits, and now none of them could get jobs in 10 years because they're all the same?
all right, we talk about AI a lot on here. I feel like real quick, I want to. Do you think pickleball is a good investment or a fad that'll die off?
Oh man, dude.
Here's some stats. Here's some stats. So 1,000 new locations popped up in 2023. 4,000 popped up last year, and they don't have the numbers yet this year already, but it's looking strong. And we already know quite a few popping up. I don't know. I
I think it's novelty, dude. I think a lot of it is novelty. I think there's going to be um I don't know. I think there's going to be winners in the space. I think that there's a lot of people that are getting into it. I think there's probably going to be a first mover advantage where it's like, oh, you got in there first, so like you're going to benefit from that, just the initial traction. But man, I think it's like every industry, like everyone tries to jump on it. You might be able to make some quick cash. Don't sign any 10-year leases on your facilities. Maybe sign a 3 or a 5 and just see where it goes, because I think that, you know, attention moves around. Like people like to play whatever the new sport is. I view it probably like a CrossFit, right? It's like
yeah.
it had traction. There was a big boom. It had its time, and it could be 20 years, right? It could be a 20-year run. Um, but I think over time, you start to see a lot of these companies, just like CrossFit businesses who are going out right now. I think you see a lot of them start to dwindle down. So I think it could be a good investment, but you gotta be committed to the long term of growing the brand and growing the actual sport itself.
It's not I don't think it's one that I think it's smart to pop up a location in, just because yeah, like you said, some of the locations will hit and that'll be the one you go to. But there's so many popping up that it's like, is there enough is there enough demand to where you can have kind of like a Starbucks where it's like one on every corner. I don't think so. Like, why would I go to yours versus this one? It's probably just going to be based on like location. So each city, might have room for one, but after that, and,
I think
and
that
they're also so big too. I'm
that's
like,
what
do
I'm
you
saying.
need
That
40 courts?
the revenue per square foot of this business is not great, and like you need a high concentration of people to make these work. And in places where concentration of people is high happens to be cities where real estate is limited. And so like I guess maybe in a skyscraper you're gonna get more like you're gonna get more floors of like pickleball. So it's gonna be like indoor that way where it's not gonna have to be a standalone building. But the problem is like, I don't know, maybe here's the business. You take parking garages outside of hours, like because everyone parks in a parking garage, like during business hours, 8 to 5, but most people play pickleball from 5 to 9. Maybe
Yeah.
you flip parking garages or parking lots into pickleball courts outside of hours. I don't know, but I think you're gonna have to dual use spaces because I don't think that the revenue per square foot is gonna be there in most like urban areas to do one of these pickleball things.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll just delete that part out so that I start the
The
parking garage
garage. That's a decent idea, dude.
parking garage pickleball.
Yeah.
We'll see if we leave this in for you guys that stuck around until 56 minutes. Someone's gonna be rich off of parking lot pickleball.
It'll
A lot of
pop up.
lot of flat, large surfaces.
Yep.
The only problem is a lot of those garages in Seattle, the ceiling's low, but
Yeah.
rooftops,
true.
baby, rooftops.
I mean, yeah, I think dual use is probably the best because it's so easy to just get one of those nets and
Yeah, you gotta do
roll.
something. You gotta do something else, but that's the
All right.
pod. I gotta jump off. I got another webinar and the iPhone event. I'm gonna miss it, but I'm gonna rewatch it after.
No spoilers.
Later.